Hello, Amazing Race fans. Welcome back to the Specials channel. I am here talking about the Amazing Race. Phil is not here. Celestina kicked him out. She was like, I need back talking, doing the recaps for the Amazing Race. So I am back with Celestina, and we are ready to talk this episode of the Amazing Race. Celestina, how are you liking this season so far?
It's been a good season. It's nice to kind of get a little bit of the longer episodes so you can kind of get more character moments and kind of get to know people, because I feel like a lot of times when I'm watching The Amazing Race, when it goes by fast, I don't really know who the people are. So I have some sort of an understanding of who each of the teams are, which I always personally like. So I've been enjoying that aspect.
Yeah, I think I've gotten a handle a little bit faster with this season on who the teams are, rather than other seasons. And yeah, let's get into this episode. But before we do, Celestine and I will be still doing our route info over on the Patreon that goes live every Saturday, where we highlight a specific topic in the episode. So Celestina still does talk about the Amazing Race with me, and still over on the Patreon. So become a patron and make sure you like and subscribe to the video, all of those lovely things. But let's talk the Amazing Race. So this is the first time they are in Guatape, Colombia, I think is how you pronounce it.
Your guess is as good as mine on that one.
All right. And it's like the colorful city or something like that was the tagline. So I don't remember if they've been to Colombia just in general before, because they highlighted it as something special. I probably should have done research, but who knows? I don't know if they've been to Colombia before, because they've highlighted this specific spot as something special.
Yeah. Well, they've definitely not been to this spot before.
Yeah.
But I feel like Colombia would be a place, but I know recently Colombia's kind of like really opened its doors to tourism more so now. So they're trying to build back a lot of tourism there. So maybe it hasn't. And because they're building back tourism, this was a perfect opportunity.
So the first thing that they had to do, Celestina was not a big fan of, because it was just climb a bunch of stairs and go somewhere else.
Yes, we all know your favorite is just getting the information.
Yeah. So like, what is the purpose, I guess, aside from tiring everybody out? But because they tired everybody out with these stairs, it pretty much told everyone else, don't do the physical detour. Everyone did the cooking detour. Like, why have this physical route info when it doesn't mean anything?
Yeah, or at least have them like zip line back down or something.
Yeah. You know, something to like get that like physicality like out of their brain, because like I wanted to see this, Jeep detour happen, but because that walk up was so physical, everyone was like, no, we're cooking.
Yeah, I agree. I think the stair challenge is interesting, but I think it could have been a part of a challenge, like they had to count the steps or something. I know they've done that before. Exactly. Yeah. So then that way,
saw Sunny and Busy say that. Like, have you counted the steps?
Yeah.
It was like a quick aside, and so that was really interesting to me. So yeah, let's get into the detour, because that's the first thing we get right off the bat after these stairs. And it's bandeja pasada and yapao. And the first one is cooking. So they had to cook a traditional dish, and it was judged by a bunch of abuelas. And they got a photo and used that photo to match what station they had to go to, but that photo didn't really seem like it played a big part in it. It was just like, instead of you go here, it's you go here with this photo.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I was confused. I was like, is this a different challenge? Like, are they doing some like matching challenge? But then I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. So yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts on the cooking detour as a whole? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I mean, that's what I would have chose because when in doubt, food challenges.
Mhm.
The food looked delicious, and it
Mhm.
also just seems like you were saying, after just the physical labor of going up steps, that just seems like the task to do. And you had a picture of it, and I feel like when you're cooking, there's a lot of trial by error. So
Mhm.
it's like if you make your egg and it's not right, you can kind of know what you did the first time that was incorrect and really repeat it and do better. So I think that that's kind of an advantage of this type of challenge.
Yeah, so if you haven't been listening to Celestina and I over on the Patreon these past few Amazing Race seasons, we pretend like we're a team running this leg of the race. So I agree with you, Celestina. We are cooking. I think that is easy, but I do really love this other one where they had to pack a bunch of things on the Jeep because I like these type of like packing puzzles. So that would be really fun, but I just don't have like the strength to do
Yeah,
that and, like, move all this furniture. So, if I had, Rod on my team, I'd be like, "Alright, we're doing this because I
yeah,
can guide you to pack this, entire Jeep up."
exactly. Yeah.
Um, so what, aside from the physicality of this, Jeep challenge, what were your thoughts on that one?
Well, I'm glad we actually got to see a little
A
bit of
little
the challenge because of what happened. So that's like I guess one upside is that we actually got to see that play out. But like you were saying, I do love that it has that physicality, but also the mental aspect of the puzzle.
Mhm.
And like you were saying, that's a pretty smart idea. Like if you had a brawn and like a brain really kind of like working together on it, I think it could be really fun in a powerhouse challenge.
Yeah. So we see Anthony and Bailey just out here switching detours. So if you want to listen to us talk more about switching detours, that is our topic for the Patreon this week. We are going to talk about, when it's necessary, when it's too late, all of that. But your thoughts on Anthony and Bailey doing it so many times, like, all right, no, 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 wait, no, 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 wait, no, 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 wait, and then they're still in last place.
Yeah, I feel like people give up too easily sometimes in the Amazing Race. Like I
Mhm,
said, the food challenge is very much trial by error. Like you can really like if you mess up the first time, try it again because there's a lot of muscle memory with
mhm.
cooking. And so I feel like, after a few times you can do it. And I feel like they were just like, this is not something we're gonna do well at. So then instead of being like, okay, well, we're committed to the next one, they tried the next one and they were like, nope, that doesn't work. And then they went back. I feel like if I was in the position of switching, I would just stick with that one and I'm like, we gotta do it.
Yeah, exactly. And Anthony and Bailey as a team, honestly, I love them. I have a really I have a soft spot for this team, and I was so sad that we don't get them for any more episodes. But, they I feel like cook their cooking extent is like Totino's pizza rolls in a microwave, and
Yes.
then they were commenting on how they have no brain cells to do this challenge for the packing. They're like, "My brain is fuzzy, it can't think right now." So, neither detour was working for them, but they just had to stick with one lack of skill set. At least
Mhm.
they had a little bit of an up in the packing because they are muscular, they're fit
Mhm.
guys, so they can do that aspect of it. So, I don't
You
know
love
if
the puzzle
they
part.
yeah, it was the puzzle part,
Yeah.
that really killed them. There was also, the jump rope team switch detours as well, like, there were a few people that got to that physical detour and were just like, no."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll dive more into that, in our
Mhm,
route info on the Patreon. But yeah, I mean, I definitely don't encourage doing it, especially I mean, unless it's something, you've been at it for hours and hours and you know that it's just not gonna
mhm.
end up well. But I definitely say at least give it a good try.
So one thing that Phil mentions, and that I feel like it was a very highlighted moment, is they will be traveling by water taxi to these either side of the detour. And typically, like, they don't I feel like he doesn't say it that often where it's like, "Oh, yeah, you're gonna go here by water taxi." But I think he did it because, the boat breaks down for Danny and Angie.
Yeah. Yeah,
What
I
are
did
you
notice that, yeah.
What are your thoughts on, like, Danny and Angie dropped a few spots because of it's out of their control. Like, I think that's my biggest pet peeve with The Amazing Race is you could lose $1,000,000 not by your own accord.
Yeah, that I mean, I don't like that, but at the same time, I do like it in a weird way because it's like a staple. Like, there's, like,
Yeah.
older seasons where, like, the car like,
They picked the wrong taxi or
yeah, or,
whatever.
like, they're in a car and the car stops running,
Mhm.
and they have to get a new one, and then the voiceover of, like, Phil is like, "Hey, guess what? Um, this is I know this is an unlucky thing, but you'll get a car, but, like, you're still in the same place you are, so sorry, it's just an unlucky situation." And it's kind of unfortunate, but it's also, like, that luck aspect of The Amazing
Mhm.
Race that is kind of, like, interesting too, because like, you could be the best, Amazing Race team, but you're only as good as the car that you're driving sometimes.
Yeah, I'm okay with it when they get, like, a bad taxi driver who doesn't know directions, but it's like when The Amazing Race is providing you something, I want that to work.
Yeah.
Like, The Amazing Race is saying, "We have these water taxis for you here." Like, there nobody else is using these water taxis, it's just them set aside, like, these should work.
Yeah, they should.
That's where I have my issue. Like, I'm totally fine with them losing, because they picked the wrong taxi, because they, went down a wrong street and it's blocked by a parade,
Yeah,
whatever. But it's just so unfortunate when The Amazing Race picks this water taxi and then you get on it thinking, "I'm just gonna go to the next thing," and then
it's like,
you're
nope.
dropping in placement
Yeah,
because they really needed to keep their spot because, Angie was really struggling on the climb. She's really that team is struggling because of Angie's lack of physicality.
yeah, agreed. I hear you.
So after that, we're gonna go on to the roadblock, and it's who's feeling picky. Um, Celestina, who between us, who's feeling picky?
I guess I could do it.
Yeah, I feel like it's one that either of us could
Yeah,
easily do. There's no heights. There's no, it's
just a
something
slippery hill.
just a slippery hill. Yeah, exactly. So with this roadblock, they had to pick and peel coffee beans to get 1 kilogram. How did you feel about it? How did you feel about this roadblock? What did you like about it?
What I liked about it is that it showcased Colombia, with
Mm,
it being a coffee staple, for Colombia, which kind of goes back to what I was saying about the tourism thing. They really wanna highlight the beauty of Colombia for, like,
mhm,
promotion. Um, so I liked that aspect. I would say it was a little bit boring to watch because, you just see people picking small things.
yeah,
I was fascinated that coffee actually kinda comes with, like, these little berry things. I
right.
didn't I was like, I always thought they were just beans, so I learned something, which was educational for me, so I liked
Mhm,
that aspect as well. But it just kind of, I like challenges where I'm, like, super engaged and I'm like, "Okay, cool." I'm, like, really fascinated with watching this through the entire process. I think at this point, I was like, "Oh, I can go get my water right now and come back," and they're still kind of, like, doing the same thing.
yeah. There were a few interesting moments, like, when Ricky and Cesar got there first, and then he got what felt like 1 kilogram, and it actually turned out to be half, and he's like, "Oh, so the shells take up a half, so I have to get that same amount again."
Yeah.
Um, so just, like, realizing, the bean to shell, I guess, ratio,
Yeah.
and then Danny just trying to encourage his mom, "You can do
Oh,
it," like, and she's just like, "You're not helping. Get out of here."
oh. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I do agree that, like, it made sense that they did coffee, but it wasn't the most interesting, but I think I'd still rather I'd still rather do the coffee than everybody, you know, turning up a whole bunch of stones in an arena.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to look for like the
Oh
one
my gosh, I hated
stone.
that one. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I think picking berries kind of almost relates to the pomelos or whatever it was
Yeah.
last season where they were in the boat
Yeah.
and trying to get all those melons. So after the roadblock, they go to the pit stop, but the pit stop seemed like insanely hard to find. Did that feel like for you too? Like everybody was running around being like, where the heck is the pit stop?
Yeah.
Because Ricky and Cesar, Amber and Vinny, Derek and yeah, Ricky and Cesar, it felt like they found it just fine, but then everyone else afterwards is like, where's the pit stop?
And then everybody like finds it at the same time and they're all like falling over each other. And it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, very
Slipping down
dramatic.
the hill,
Yeah.
jumping down the hill, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, what is going on?"
Yeah.
And
I
then
was like, is that really necessary? Like, you all know there's teams behind you. You're getting to the mat at the same point. At that point, it's like, I don't care if I'm like second or fifth because you're all like basically the
I
exact same
think
time.
I think it's because of the leaving groups. So we had
Oh, yeah.
the first group leaving, so that was what, like 2 or 3 teams, left 15
Oh,
minutes, so,
yeah. Cause they
you
don't
know
do airport shenanigans. Okay.
yeah, because so coming in 6th place versus 7th place could leave you in a different 15-minute
Oh, okay.
grouping.
Well, then now that makes sense why everybody's jumping on top of each other then.
Yeah, exactly. And then Michelle and Sean were slowly like on the hill. Like Sean was having such a troublesome time trying to get down the hill because I believe he was afraid of heights and
Mhm.
slipping. So it was just a funny scene of Michelle being like, come on,
No.
hurry up.
She's like, we have one team behind us. We can do this still.
Yeah, exactly. So the pit stop, Ricky and Cesar come in first, like by miles. They are in first the entire time and do not drop first place. And they won an Expedia Key Cash trip to Cape Town, South Africa. What are your thoughts on the South Africa trip, Celestina?
Cool.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean, it's not one of my like top places, but I'll take it, like
yeah, right. If you win that
yeah,
leg of the race, I'll take
yeah,
a South Africa trip.
yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. Yeah.
And then we see Amber and Vinny skyrocket to 2nd place. When they checked in, I was like, wait,
I
what?
know.
Who's in first or who's in second? Like it was crazy that they
Yeah.
shot up that high. And I was just saying last week on the podcast that I thought that they would do better. It seems like they would be doing better, and now they are.
Yeah. And it looks like next episode they'll be bickering. So
Maybe they'll shoot back down. Derek and Shalissa still 3rd place across the board. These 3 episodes, they seem to be just on a steady pace at 3rd. Juan and Shane at 4th. Rod and Letitia just dropped many a spot because they were in the first place for the first 2 episodes.
Mhm.
So do you think they just had a bad leg? Like why do you think they had such a drop?
Well, I think of it, I mean, I know that there's the different leaving groups, but they did kind of show up with that other group
Mhm.
around the same time. So I think that, I mean, if it wasn't for the whole leaving thing, I think they'd probably be leaving what, kind of, they'll still be in the front of the pack,
Mhm.
in a basically normal season, but we'll see. I mean, now with the different group things, maybe that might push them a little bit behind because they don't have that momentum of being in the front. But I think they're a strong team and I like them. And so I think that they can get back up easily.
Yeah. Yvonne and Melissa are next, and I have an issue because I feel like they're not showing Yvonne and Melissa at all. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, I see them completing something or checking in, and they're just nowhere on this
Yeah.
season, and I'm just questioning why.
Yeah. I
Because
feel like that's the team I know the least.
exactly, I'm like I want to get to know them because at the beginning of the season, Phil was like, "All right, who you pulling for?" And I'm just like, "Well, I like them from the little bit that I saw of them the first episode, and then we've gotten nothing." these last two. I don't think they even had a confessional. Like it's insane. Sunny and Busy are next with Kishori and Karishma and Angie and Danny. Now, what were your thoughts on Angie and Danny and Kishori and Karishma working together at the roadblock or at the detour, trying to get like to the detour together? Because Angie was against it. She didn't want to wait. She wanted to keep going because it felt like they were last.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talked a little bit about like helping in our route info last time. But I mean, it really is just like a situation where it really depends. I can understand Angie's frustration, especially because they're kind of struggling a little bit. So I feel like helping other people could potentially hinder them because they're more in the back of the pack. So that's kind of like my main takeaway on that.
Yeah. And then we have Michelle and Sean, and Anthony and Bailey are in last this episode, and I am devastated. I just think they're a hoot and a half and wanted to see them bumble through the race a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But
Anthony and Bailey are great. Maybe we'll see them on another reality TV show. Maybe I don't know, like maybe The Traders or something. That would be kind of
my
fun.
God, that would be
Wouldn't that be amazing?
I think Anthony and Bailey should get the shot back, like in the actual like COVID shutdown season, where the first couple of teams that got booted could come back. Let's get Anthony and Bailey back on the season.
You can start a petition.
Yeah, exactly. It's already been filmed years ago, but
yeah.
All right. Well, do you have any other thoughts on this episode, Celestina?
No, I think we summarized the main aspects. I wish the the picking challenge was maybe a little bit more dynamic, because I felt like this episode is very just like straightforward. I feel like there's usually more to like The Amazing Race. Like they do more, like they have more components. And so it was just kind of like, oh, there's like two main things. So but I guess that's good, because usually when they add more, it's just like route info, and I know that how much you love those route info. So
well, just make us do a little bit of something at this route info, like count the steps, like then it makes it a little bit more like dynamic, like you said, with having these extra things. But I think we kind of at this point just have to do away with the old version of The Amazing Race, like kind of how we're doing with Survivor, unfortunately, where we're like, all right, we're going to be starting with 3 tribes. There's a formula, there's a mergatory. Like we just kind of have to like accept the post-COVID Amazing Race and that it's not going to be pre-COVID Amazing Race.
Yep. I agree.
All right, everyone. Well, that wraps up this recap. So please, Saturday, tune into the Patreon, where Celestina and I will be deep diving, switching detours in our route info episode. Check out Digging Deeper. That was live earlier today, and it had Troyzan on it. Phil and Blake went live with Troyzan, so hey, yo. And then John and I tomorrow will be coming at you bright and early at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our rewind episode. So you won't be getting that at night, but you'll have it at the start of your workday to get you through the rest of your day. So we will see you. I'll see you tomorrow, and Celestina and I will be over on the Patreon on Saturday. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.